If you've been following my bets lately, you know we have been cashing and we're about to do it again. There are a few dogs this weekend that Las Vegas is absolutely sleeping on, but your boy is going to break down the entire card from the main card, JDM versus Makhachev, all the way through the entire card until we get to the first fight of the night. And I'm going to give you the best betting angles and breakdowns that we have this weekend. Welcome to the official UFC 322 edition of the lucrative MMA betting show. This week, we are in New York, famous Madison Square Garden, for a crazy fight card. We have Della Maddalena taking on Islam Makhachev for the UFC welterweight belt. Islam is moving up to attempt to become a two-division UFC world champion. We've got another championship bout on the card with Valentina Shevchenko taking on Weili Zhang. You know, in my opinion, if Valentina wins this weekend, she's the best women's MMA fighter of all time. We've got Leon Edwards back in the building taking on Carlos Prates. You know who I'm going to be rooting for in that one. I mean, it's a tough one, but there's only one side I can pick on that one. We also have Benoit Saint-Denis coming fresh off the heels of killing the hype of Mauricio Ruffy and the Fighting Nerds. And he is taking on a veteran, Beneil Dariush, who is not an easy fight for any man in the division. We also have a title eliminator in Sean Brady versus Michael Morales and a bunch of other fights. And I'm going to take you through every single one in the UFC 322 edition of the lucrative MMA betting show. So I'll see you on the other side of the intro, lads. Let's run it. So welcome back to another edition of the show, boys. It's great to see you here, boys and girls. I need to always say, not only boys, there's 5% of my viewers or a bit less are women. So shout out to you, boys and girls. First of all, I want you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not, because as I always say, it keeps me motivated to make more videos if I'm getting more views and subscribers. So we've been absolutely destroying the sports books lately. We only had one losing week in the last 12 at the time of recording this video, because I am recording it before the Gabriel Bonfim and Randy Brown card. So we literally went 12 weeks with one loss. The one loss came in a fixed fight with Isaac Dolgarian and Yair Del Valle. And if that fight didn't happen, we would have profited on the card. So literally, they needed to fix a fight to make us lose. And on top of that, we had Ante Della in that fight. That was a travesty as well. It should have been a no contest. So honestly, it literally took some insanity, almost never seen before, circumstances for us to lose the win streak. But we're getting straight back on another one, boys. I'm telling you that right now. We're up over 170 units on the year, which is abnormal in sports betting. And one thing before we get into this fight card, I am third-party tracked on BetMMA, so I cannot fake my record. 99.9% of frauds out there on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter are not tracked, but I am. So I cannot fake my record. It's time to start calling these frauds out. Why are they not tracked? You know why they're not tracked, because they got things to hide. I ain't got nothing to hide. You can see every single bet I've placed over the last 7 years. F the predictions and the videos, they mean nothing. All that means something is money in your bank account. That's why I track my bets, to prove I'm the best in the game. And let me start by proving it in the main event of the evening. And we have Della Maddalena taking on Islam Makhachev. JDM coming into this fight with a glorious record, 18 wins, 2 losses. Islam Makhachev, on the other hand, glorious record, 27 wins, only 1 loss. That's a lot of wins, man. That's not a lot of losses. Currently, they have Islam Makhachev as the minus 260 favorite with the underdog price tag on Della Maddalena coming back at plus 220 odds. What a fight. What a fantastic fight we have here. Two of the greatest in MMA, two of the greatest in modern MMA right now, facing off for the UFC welterweight champion. Is Islam going to become the new welterweight champion? Let's talk about it. First of all, boys, I made a documentary on this video, breaking down the fight, going in depth about where they came from, etc., etc. It's on my YouTube channel now. If you want to go and watch it after, you can. You can even open up the video in another tab if you want to do that now. But I'm going to break the fight down a little bit more analytically in this one. This is a wrestler, grappler versus striker matchup, right? JDM is a boxer and basically a pure striker. When he came into the MMA game, he was a pure striker, right? On the other hand, we got Islam Makhachev, who came into the MMA game as a pure wrestler, grappler out there in Dagestan with his best friend Khabib. You know, they live next door to each other. They train with each other every single day. And they came up in the Sambo, grappling, wrestling mats of Russia, right? And he had to learn the striking game. And to be honest, he's got pretty good at it. Just like Della Maddalena has got pretty good at the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling defense now. So I can see this fight playing out a couple of different ways. First thing I want to say, boys, is that Islam Makhachev is going to take down Della Maddalena here, guaranteed, right? He's going to take him down. He's probably going to control him for long bouts of the fight, and he may even dominate him from top position. I'm going to tell you that right now. If we go back and look at Della Maddalena's last fight against Belal Muhammad, in a fight that I bet on him, me and all of my VIPs bet on him, the Elite Zone cashed out big on Della Maddalena in that fight. But if we look at that fight, I don't think Belal fought to a great game plan. I have to say that right now. And boys, you know that I bet, and me and the Elite Zone bet on Della Maddalena. So I'm not saying this with any bias, right? Because I bet on him, right? I'd love to sit here and say, yeah, it was the best bet of all time and it was an easy bet. At the end of the day, man, I don't think Belal fought a great game plan in that fight until the 4th and 5th round. And he got cut and he got hurt in those 4th and 5th round because he had to press the pace, right? Because he knew the first 3 rounds wasn't really going his way because he wasn't fighting a good game plan. But in the 4th and 5th rounds, he started to have massive success against Della Maddalena, whether he won them rounds or not, because they were close rounds. You know, Jack definitely landed more damage, but Belal had a lot of control time, a lot more than he did in the first 3. I scored them to Jack, to be honest. But whatever you want to say, Belal had way more success in those rounds than he did in the first 3. And I do believe that came from the game plan switch up. You know, if Belal fought the same game plan as he did in round 4 and round 5 from bell 1, like he did against Leon Rocky Edwards, we may not be saying that Della Maddalena is the UFC welterweight champion now, right? Maybe we would. I don't know. It didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't think Belal fought an optimal game plan. And he still had a lot of success in that fight. The grappling transitions and scenarios that I saw take place in that octagon on that night tell me that Islam Makhachev will have no problem in taking down JDM at least a couple of times in this fight. Is he going to have issues taking him down overall? Of course, like JDM will stuff a couple of takedowns. Why not? But I do think Islam will be able to take him down and control him on the mat more than Belal Muhammad did. I want to cast your mind back to Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. And I want to go through this together. So let's look at the first fight, boys. Or sorry, let's look at the first round, I should say. So Islam and Dustin, they come out, and within the first 10 to 20 seconds, Islam takes down Dustin Poirier and is in a dominant grappling position. We can see now he is in half guard and he has tried to advance position. If we skip forward a half a minute or so, we now see that Islam has Dustin Poirier in a Kimura, or at least a Kimura attempt / straight armbar attempt. So boys, at this moment, the fight's been going on for a minute, less than 2 minutes, and Islam is already in a dominant grappling position. And that's exactly the type of fighter he is. You know, he doesn't waste any time. He's patient, yes, but he doesn't waste time. He goes to his game early and often. And we see here when Dustin Poirier is able to scramble out of the armbar attempt or the arm lock attempt, we see Islam roll through and take his back in a transition. He takes his back, puts the body lock in, and look where he is now. On the back, in a dominant position, like he does to a lot of fighters. And he stays here for the entire round, guys. I'm not going to show you at all, but he stays here for the entire round. So, you know, watching that fight, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to do somewhat similar or the same to Della Maddalena. Because Della Maddalena is not a great grappler. He's obviously improved his game a lot, but he's not a great grappler. I mean, Islam has put years and years on the mat in Dagestan, a lot more years into the game, in the grappling game than JDM. So I don't think that he's going to be able to stop the onslaught of grappling and the versatile takedowns and jiu-jitsu attacks that Islam possesses in his toolbox. I mean, Islam was dominating that fight against Dustin Poirier, making it look semi-easy for the first 12 and a half minutes or so. Dustin Poirier was able to, you know, he was getting taken down like every round. He definitely defended better in round 2, but he still got taken down in that round. In round 3, got taken down again straight away. Islam was on his back, like Islam was dominating that position, and Dustin Poirier was able to kick off the fence, create a scramble, and Jack does this a lot, to be honest, so I think it could be replicable. Dustin Poirier was able to get out of that position and then start swinging on the feet. But I mean, Islam was still swinging back at him and arguably doing even more damage at times in those striking scenarios as well. So, you know, Dustin Poirier made it close at times and defended the wrestling a lot, but Islam was pretty in control of that entire fight, and then he submitted him in round 5. You know, beautiful takedown from Islam. He realized that the single legs wasn't working as well as they did at least early in the fight. And so he abandoned the single leg, instead just pulled Dustin Poirier to him, took the front headlock, submitted him with a dash choke. I mean, I don't see why Islam can't do these things against JDM. If we look at Islam's fight against Alexander Volkanovski, how quick Islam is to take the back at times is honestly beautiful to watch. It's a sight to see and it's beautiful to watch. And I don't think JDM has it in him to defend it, at least early in the fight. You know, JDM's best skill set is his cardio, tenacity, boxing, and mindset. You know, so I feel like he can come through some adversity here and maybe put it on Islam later in the round. But I mean, boys, I can take you through these guys' careers and I can show you that Islam's going to be able to take him down, man. Look at the Basel Hafez fight with JDM. He's arguably 2-0 down going into the round 5. He wins a split decision. I don't even know if he won that fight against Basel Hafez. Who is that? Basel Hafez is not top 30 in the world. You know, he's not top 40. He's not top 50 in the world, right? And Islam is number 1. You know, Islam is number 1, if not number 2 or 3. So I think Islam's going to take him down, man. I don't want to make this entire breakdown about Islam. I want to give respect to Jack. I gave a lot of respect to Jack in my video that I mentioned earlier. But doing more research on it, doing more tape study, I have to pick Islam in this fight. I think the grappling is just too big a gap. And I don't think the striking is as big of a gap as the grappling. I really don't. I wouldn't be surprised if Islam is able to land some beautiful body kicks here. Bilal Muhammad was landing some beautiful body kicks on JDM. I wouldn't be surprised if Islam was able to do the same there. Keep the fight at kicking range and land some really good strikes. Islam up at welterweight may have some underrated power and JDM is there to be hit. Bilal was cracking him with some massive shots on the feet, big overhands, big kicks, everything. I mean, he was getting caught. And JDM is that type of fighter who does stand in the pocket and trade and gets caught. Basel Hafez was landing absolute haymakers on him. He's got an elite chin, but I still feel like Islam can catch him here. Islam is competitive in the striking and fairly uncompetitive in the grappling. So for that reason, Islam should be a pretty big favorite in my opinion, and he's going to win this fight. I'm going to pick Islam Makhachev. I'm going to pick him via decision. Currently, they have the fight goes to decision odds at plus 130, and I don't agree with that. I think it should be favored to go to a decision. I think both fighters are extremely tough. I don't really see either fighter getting a finish. Can it happen? Yes. They're both not only extremely tough, but also dangerous, so it can happen, but I am predicting the fight to go all 5 rounds. I think JDM will win a round or 2. I think Islam will gut it out. I think Islam will get his back multiple times in the fight. I think Islam will get enough control to win. I think Islam will threaten with chokes, but not actually submit him. At the end of the day, man, JDM is a great survivor. He has been training with Craig Jones for a long time now. So I have to believe that he has a lot of skills in the grappling to at least survive the positions he's going to be put in by Islam. The X factor is obviously Islam's moving up in weight. So how is he going to do at his new weight? That needs to be said. I don't want to finish the breakdown without saying that, because I know a lot of the comments are going to be like, you didn't mention that. Well, I'm mentioning it now. It's very hard to be concise and mention the hundreds of things that I have in my mind, but I'm going to try to mention the most pertinent points. I watched a video, an interview of Islam Makhachev. It was a very funny one. And he was saying how he found it hard to put on the weight. It was the first time in his life that he's taking protein and creatine, but he's managed to put on the weight now. So I don't know, you know, maybe it's not a great thing to see him talking about difficulties gaining the weight up to welterweight, but the guy's a massive lightweight. I don't think he's going to look small in there. I think he's going to look the same size as JDM, to be honest. I think he's going to be a very, very big welterweight, to be honest. So my official prediction for this fight is Islam Makhachev becomes a 2-division world champion and defeats Jack Della Maddalena. On the next fight on the card, we have Valentina Shevchenko taking on Weili Zhang for the UFC Flyweight Championship of the World. Valentina Shevchenko has a record of 24 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Weili Zhang, on the other hand, 26 wins and 3 losses. Currently, they have Weili Zhang as the minus 112 favorite, if you want to call it that, with the underdog price tag on Valentina Shevchenko coming back at minus 108. What a fantastic fight, boys. And like I said, when I first mentioned this fight in the intro, Valentina wins this fight. I believe she's the greatest women's fighter of all time. I believe she already may be the greatest women's fighter of all time. I believe that she's better than Amanda Nunes. I feel like, in my opinion, she is the greatest, not Amanda. She lost to Amanda twice. Yes, first one was close. Second one, I scored it for her over 5 rounds. She was very young in her career when she came into that first fight as well. So, and you know, she's gone on and been in the game longer than Amanda as well. So yeah, I think she's the best fighter of all time currently. Best women's fighter, greatest women's fighter, not best, great. And if she wins this one, I think there's no doubt. Weili Zhang, on the other hand, elite fighter herself, you know, very, very good wins. Both of these girls are on the tail ends of their career, and whoever wins is going to be spoken about in the MMA Women's Hall of Fame forever. They're both going to be in the Hall of Fame for sure, but this is a special fight is what I'm trying to say. It seems like Weili has put in her camp at Bangtown Muay Thai. She always does. She was there 12 weeks ago, and recently she has been in Las Vegas training at the UFC PI and also Syndicate MMA. Just like the main event, we have a fighter moving up in weight here, and that is Weili Zhang. So it's going to be interesting to see how she looks at face-offs against the bigger girl, Valentina Shevchenko. Shevchenko seems like she's been all over the place for her training camp, which I don't know if is necessarily ideal, but I have seen that 10 weeks ago she was in Thailand, just like Weili Zhang, but at Tiger Muay Thai, not Bang Tao. It seems like she then went to Morocco for some filming. Then she moved to Andrada Muay Thai, then Fight Ready, then Zen Martial Arts in Texas. So she's been all over the place, but I don't think that will affect the fight too much here. I mean, both girls surely are extremely motivated for this fight, and both girls are veterans at this point in time. Speaking about veterans, I thought Valentina Shevchenko was a lot older than Weili Zhang for some reason. She's 37 years old, Valentina, so at the tail end of her career. But Weili Zhang is 36 years old. So there's no real age advantage for either girl. And both girls have the same experience in professional MMA, so there's no real experience advantage or disadvantage either. This is an interesting fight to me, boys, because we've seen time and time again. I mean, not that much. It's not time and time again because it hasn't been that often because these girls hardly ever lose. But we've seen in these girls' losses that they usually lose because of the grappling. Of course, Weili Zhang got head kicked in round 1 by Rose Namajunas, but outside of that, her lone loss does come against Rose Namajunas again. And she kind of lost that fight from laying on her back too much, getting a bit tired, getting taken down. You know, and if we look at Valentina Shevchenko's losses, a lot of those come from the grappling as well. Alexa Grasso is taking her back, threatening with chokes, threatening and beating her in the grappling, and actually even submitting her in one of those 3 fights. So Valentina has an issue with the wrestling and grappling. Even if you look at a Jennifer Maia fight, she gets taken down and controlled in that fight via wrestling and grappling. So both of these girls are really good strikers, very athletic, especially Weili Zhang, very powerful, good strikers, very hard to beat them on the feet. But you can take them down and grapple them a little bit, right? So who's going to be the one taking who down and grappling here? Well, Valentina's a little bit bigger. She's more physical, in my opinion. And she has a bit more experience taking girls down and dominating them, especially better girls, bigger girls. I feel like I can trust Valentina to go to that game plan a little bit more than I can trust Weili Zhang. Both girls land around the same number of takedowns per 15 minutes, 2.62. But Valentina has a slightly better takedown accuracy at 60% as opposed to Weili Zhang's 45%. And as I said, I just feel like Valentina has been taken down and dominating girls with the grappling who are bigger and better than the girls Weili Zhang has been taken down in their recent career. If you go back and look at the fights with Amanda Lemos, yes, Weili Zhang takes her down a lot, but that's how you beat Amanda Lemos. A lot of girls take her down. She takes down Yan Jiaonan, but literally everybody takes down Yan Jiaonan. That's how you beat her. Even Rose Namajunas is known to give up takedowns a lot throughout her career, right? Whereas if you look at Valentina Shevchenko, she's taken down Alexa Grasso, who's not easy to take down. She's taken down Manon Fiorot, who's insanely hard to take down, one of the most physical and strong girls in the entire UFC, let alone the weight class. And she's taken down people like Tyler Santos 3 times, who's extremely physical as well. So I just feel like I can trust Shev's wrestling and grappling a little bit more. Does that mean that Weili Zhang's not going to have any wrestling top time offense? No. I'm just trusting Shev to do a little bit more in those positions and go to that game plan and have success in that game plan more than Weili Zhang. On the feet, I favor Valentina too, ever so slightly, but I do favor Valentina. If she's able to get her proper distance management going, then I think you're going to see her start to pick up the volume and outskill Weili Zhang ever so slightly on the feet, as long as she's not washed at 37. A couple of years ago, I was thinking she might be getting to the tail end of her career, and then she comes out and dominates Alexa Grasso and beats Manon Fiorot, who I regard as one of the best fighters in the division, probably the next champ, who just slumped Jasmine Jasudavicius, who was on an insane win streak. So maybe she's not washed, and if she isn't, I think that you're going to see her outskill Weili Zhang on the feet and also in the grappling. So my prediction is going to be fairly short and sweet here, boys. It's going to be Valentina Shevchenko to get the win and go down as the greatest women's fighter that we have ever seen in MMA. And a lot of people talk shit about Valentina Shevchenko. But hopefully, after she beats Weili Zhang on the weekend, that doesn't happen anymore. I got bullet in this fight, guys. In the next fight, we have Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Carlos the Nightmare Prates. Leon Edwards coming into this fight with a record of 22 wins, 5 losses. Carlos Prates, very similar record, 22 wins, 7 losses. Currently, they have Carlos Prates as a minus 200 favorite with the underdog price tag on former UFC welterweight champion Leon Edwards coming back at plus 170. What a fight, guys. Fantastic fight here. MMA delight. Carlos Prates is probably my favorite fighter in the UFC right now. He has crazy amount of tools on the feet. So much so that I made a video called The Many Tools of Carlos Prates. And it's on my YouTube channel right now. If you want to go and watch it after this video, maybe you open it in another tab, like I said on the other video. And that's exactly what he has, man. He has a wide array of tools on the feet. I did a deep dive into Carlos Prates recently and throughout his career since I've been betting and making money on him a lot, just like I did against Jeff Neal in his last fight. Me and the Elite Zone cashed on him big there. And I've noticed that Carlos Prates has three main weapons. It's the high kick, it's the left hand, and it's the knee. And the knee is really where his main damage is done. His knee is by far his best attribute of his entire game, and it's extremely rare. I mean, what fighter do you know out there? Literally, answer me this question. What fighter do you know where you can say their number one strike is the knee? You don't know anyone. You don't know anyone in MMA, and you probably don't know anyone in even Muay Thai. Diesel Noi, he's up there. There's a couple of fighters in Muay Thai that have the knee, of course, but probably you don't know them. They're not that well known. The knee is such a specific strike. It's very hard to defend against. He not only has body knee knockouts, but he has head knee knockouts as well. He went for a run in Muay Thai of like 7 knockouts over like 6 years or whatever it was. And 5 of those 7 knockouts were via knee. It's absolutely insane. I think that Rocky Edwards is going to get kneed to hell in this fight. Rocky's going to need to wrestle and grapple in this fight. I don't think he can stand with Carlos Prates. I do not think he has the footwork of an Ian Gary at all. And I don't think he's going to be able to stay away and stay safe from the many tools of Carlos Prates. And on top of that, Carlos Prates was even able to land an almost knockout blow against Ian Gary, even with the footwork, you know? So even if Rocky does show some good footwork for a round or two, I feel like he's getting caught and probably put out in round 2 or 3. So he's going to need to grapple in this fight. So then you go back and look at Carlos's career. Can he be grappled? I mean, it seems very hard. Ian Gary was able to take him down, but he wasn't able to control him for long at all, considering the amount of takedowns he got. Mitch Ramirez on the Dana White's Contender Series was able to take him down. If you go back and look at the regional scene career of Carlos Prates, you will see him taken down. You will see him lose a fight against Abdullayev via takedowns, but you will also see him throw up some really good triangle choke attempts and scramble with his jiu-jitsu out of a lot of those positions as well. I think Carlos Prates has underrated jiu-jitsu and would not surprise me if he was able to use his jiu-jitsu to get back up to the feet, even if Rocky can take him down. Look, I'm a little bit biased with Carlos. We partied, we had a great time, so I'm always going to support him maybe a little bit more than a fighter who I don't know, but I will always do my best to be completely unbiased. And if I am a bit biased, I'll tell you my biases. That's the difference, right? And I may be biased, but I still think this is a great matchup for Carlos. I think he's the better striker by far. I think he's the best striker in the division, in my opinion. He's got at least the most tools in the division. He's got so much more power than Rocky Edwards, so much more power. And at the end of the day, if we look back at Rocky's career, this guy's getting hurt a lot by a lot of fighters. Nate Diaz rocked this guy massively in round 5 of their fight. Arguably would have got the KO if he didn't showboat to the fans. Bilal rocked him. Brian Barberena, of all people, hurt him bad. So I just feel like Carlos Prates has massive power advantage, striking advantage, maybe jiu-jitsu advantage. I don't think Rocky's a great jiu-jitsu fighter, to be honest. He's a good wrestler and MMA fighter, but I may even say that Prates has better jiu-jitsu. And at the end of the day, man, the career trajectory is crazy different here, you know? Prates is on a crazy upwards career trajectory, only losing to Ian Gary, who arguably will be the next champion in the division. And Rocky's been there, done it. After Leon's last fight, where he lost fairly embarrassingly against Sean Brady, he stayed with his brother, Fabian Edwards, and helped him train for the PFL. So it's obviously a good thing. That's his brother. He's helping him train, you know, but it's not like he's going out there and reinventing himself after his loss, and it really affected him so badly to where he's bringing in grappling phenoms to help with his grappling defense after he got submitted by Brady. You know what I mean? He's sparring Christian Leroy Duncan, who just fought on last week's card. So that's obviously going to be beneficial for him. Christian Leroy Duncan can definitely implement some of the footwork that Prates showed specifically in his last fight against Jeff Neal. And I haven't gone in depth on the previous fights on this one, boys, but I'll just say that a lot of what I saw when I was doing tape study leads me to think that Prates is going to land a knockout in this fight. I'll just say that. So that's what I'm going with on this one, boys. Carlos Prates, in my opinion, is going to go out there and get a KO over Leon Edwards. And if he doesn't get a KO, he can still win a decision. So Carlos Prates, the man who has only walk-off knockouts in the UFC, and That's not hyperbole. He literally does. Go and check it out. Crazy stat, by the way, guys. Crazy stat I wanted to share with you. But yeah, the man who's got only walk-off knockouts in the UFC gets another one here this weekend at UFC 322. The Nightmare gets a KO. Or at least a win. In the next fight of the night, we have Beneil Dariush taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. Beneil Dariush coming into this fight with a record of 23 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. Benoit Saint-Denis, on the other hand, 15 wins and 3 losses. Currently, they have BSD as the minus 200 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Beneil Dariush coming back at plus 170. This is a great fight, boys. Benoit Saint-Denis is a marauder. The hurricane that is Benoit Saint-Denis. You know, he walks forward into range without a care in the world of taking shots, and he tries to put it on you bad. He tries to go to his wrestling, take your back, and choke you out. It's what he's done to so many guys like Mauricio Ruffy, Ismail Bonfim, almost did it to Dustin Poirier, and he's going to try and do it here against Beneil Dariush. The issue is he's coming up against one of the best counter grapplers in the entire division. Beneil Dariush has made an entire career of grappling, counter wrestling, and wrestling himself. Let's take a look back at his last fight against Renato Moicano. He out-scrambled Moicano, dominated him in the grappling scenarios to some degree. And Renato is known as an elite grappling artist himself. He actually was able to dominate Benoit Saint-Denis. So if you're using MMA math, you got Beneil Dariush in this one, but we know that MMA math doesn't always work. But I just want to say that Beneil Dariush is one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the entire division, man. Like, he's so good with it. He's so slick. His scrambles are so good. He looks unassuming. He doesn't look that athletic. But when he gets in there, it's like he's been grappling his whole life. Because he has. You know, if we look back at his fight against Mateusz Gamrot, to where me and the Elite Zone cashed a massive plus 180 ticket on him, he just out-wrestled Mateusz Gamrot, or at least out-scrambled him. He was able to defend the takedowns. He was able to get back up to his feet. He was able to land big shots on the feet, even knock him down on the feet. Like, that was a perfect performance from Beneil Dariush, and it really encapsulated the type of guy and type of fighter he is. And here he is against a somewhat similar style, a relentless wrestler, relentless grappler, and he is the same price tag, you know? So is it going to be Beneil Dariush 2.0 or Mateusz Gamrot fight 2.0? The issue is, this is many years on from that Mateusz Gamrot fight. And Beneil Dariush has only got older. The one thing that's always plagued Beneil Dariush is his durability. Way back when, he got knocked out very early into the fight against Alexander Hernandez, you know, and then even more recently, he's been knocked out by Charles Oliveira, Arman Sarukian, who's not a knockout artist at all. And then he even got knocked down and hurt badly by Renato Moicano in a very stylistically good matchup, in my opinion. He still got hurt and badly wobbled in that fight. So I kind of feel like Beneil Dariush is going to be winning this fight until he isn't. I feel like Beneil Dariush is going to be looking good in this fight. Benoit Saint-Denis his takedowns have been stuffed multiple times. Elias Zaleski dos Santos, Dustin Poirier. To be honest, most of the fighters who he takes down, they stuff his takedowns at least early. It's just they're not able to stand the pace and pressure. I kind of feel like Beneil has the perfect style to withstand the pace and pressure. Maybe not for like 5 rounds, but for 2.5 or 3 rounds, I feel like he can do it. The issue that I have with Beneil in this fight is that his chin was never good. It's getting worse. He's getting older. And Benoit Saint-Denis will swing hammers. You know, he knocked out Frivola with a head kick, and I kind of fear that it could be the same type of fight here. Maybe Beneil takes him down, but then BSD reverses it like he did against Frivola. And then when they're on the feet, Beneil gets caught in a transition. Beneil gets caught in mid-range. Beneil gets caught by a high kick he doesn't see. Something lands on the feet that knocks out Beneil Dariush. That's my official prediction, boys. Watching tape on these guys, I can't help but believe that the durability advantage that Benoit Saint-Denis holds is going to carry him to a win here. I don't think it's going to be his wrestling and grappling that win him this fight. And that's a crazy take to some degree, boys. Like, I'm going out on a limb here because at the end of the day, that's the only way he ever wins fights. Yes, he did get a head kick knockout over Mats Frivola, but outside of that, he's wrestling and grappling you in every single one of his wins. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that here. I think he's coming out against a better scrambler. You know, I truly believe that Beneil Dariush is a much better scrambler than Benoit Saint-Denis. Much better. I mean, we saw what Moicano did to him at the end of the day. We saw at times Dustin Poirier out-scramble him. I just feel like Beneil can out-scramble him, but I think he's going to get caught on the feet. I got Benoit Saint-Denis via knockout here, man. The career trajectory is a big one as well. You know, it's so much more on the side of Benoit Saint-Denis that it's not even comparable. So I'm going to pick against my man, Beneil Dariush, and say that he suffers a knockout at the hands of Benoit Saint-Denis, who continues his ascent in the lightweight division and goes on a run that leads him into the top 5 in the next year. For the next fight on the card, we have Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales in what is sure to be a title eliminator in the UFC welterweight division. Sean Brady has a stellar record, 18 wins, only 1 loss. Michael Morales beats him with a record of 18 wins and no losses. Currently, they have Sean Brady as the minus 125 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Michael Morales coming back at plus 105. This is such a great fight, boys. I want to kind of say that we have a striker versus grappler matchup yet again on this card. It's not necessarily the case. I mean, anytime when you get a title eliminator, it's very rare where the fighters can only do one thing. But for the most part, Michael Morales wants to go out there and strike with you. Although he is very physical, he can take you down, as he has done in a lot of his fights, even stemming back to his Dana White's Contender Series fight in the later rounds against Nikolai Veretennikov. In round 3, you'll see him dominate with mainly takedowns, right? But he wants to keep it on the feet for the most part. He has big power. We see what he did to Gilbert Burns on the feet in his last fight. Absolutely blew through him with big strikes on the feet. Sean Brady, on the other hand, he can knock you down on the feet. You know, he has some decent punches and even kicks on the feet. I mean, again, stemming back all the way to his UFC debut against Court McGee, where he actually knocks him down. So these guys can definitely do it all, but the strong suit is in the grappling for Brady and the striking for Michael Morales. So I'd like to ask you now, who do you think is going to get their game going? Do you think this is going to be a grappling contest, or do you think this is going to be a striking contest? Because whatever you believe out of those two is really going to dictate who you believe is going to win the fight. If you're asking me, I tend to believe that this is going to be a fight of two halves, if it gets there. I really believe that early, the physicality of Michael Morales is going to allow him to keep the fight on the feet, or at least get back up to his feet if he is taken down. If we remember, Gilbert Burns was able to get some control on him early in the fight, but Michael Morales was just too strong, too physical, was able to get out of those positions and then knock out Gilbert Burns on the feet. Or get out of that position, I should say. So I kind of feel like Michael Morales is going to be very dangerous early here. And it's probably going to be a striking contest early here, because the physicality of Morales, the athleticism of Morales, the strength of Morales, the size of Morales, specifically early, is going to allow him to defend the takedowns from Brady and make it a striking contest. And let me tell you now, you don't want to be stuck on the feet with Michael Morales. Now, I do believe that if the fight starts to get into the second, third rounds, we may see Michael Morales' athleticism and his strength deteriorate a little bit. Now, it's not like he's shown bad cardio before. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is that the guy is massive for the weight class, and anybody that big that uses that much athleticism slows down as the fight goes on, right? It's just a part of being big, jacked, and strong and athletic is you ain't going to keep that up for 5 rounds, right? That's just not what happens. And so I believe that, you know, as the fight gets later, I think Sean Brady starts to get his game going. But is the fight going to go later, right? Maybe Morales just knocks him out early and we don't get a late fight. So I've been going back and forth with this one, boys, and I've done a lot of tape study here. One thing I do want to bring to your attention is that just 10 weeks ago, Michael Morales was weighing 211 pounds. Now, that's going to be no issue for the weight cut. 10 weeks ago is a long, long time. I'm not so much mentioning the date as I am mentioning the weight. I mean, 211 pounds is an absolutely massive welterweight. Usually, if you weigh 211, you're probably going to fight the middleweight division. Not all the time. You know, a lot of people are cutting more and more weight these days, but he's a huge welterweight, let's put it that way. And I don't think 211 is him at his peak. You know what I mean? Like, he probably gets up to 220. I mean, it's only 9 more pounds. Why not? You know, if he's not training, he probably goes 225. So the guy is basically walking around as a heavyweight, but he fights a welterweight. So the reason I want to bring that to your attention is because if you weigh that much and you cut a lot of weight like Morales does, it can affect your gas tank. You can get a little bit tired later into the fights, right? And we have now seen Brady. We've seen him go 4 rounds once and get a finish in the 4th round. And we've seen him go a full 5 against Gilbert Burns. So I'm going to have to trust Brady's cardio a little bit more. Now, am I saying that Morales has bad cardio? No. And you may sit there and say, look, Morales has not really shown massive cardio problems here. And you would be correct. So maybe you don't want to doubt him in a 5-round fight. I completely understand that. But at the same time, the guy's very athletic, throws a lot into his punches. Not all the time, but he does at times, and he uses his athleticism versus using skill and technique a lot as well. That's what I see there in the octagon. He uses a lot of strength to get out of grappling positions, whereas maybe Brady will be a little bit more technical. And we have seen Brady get finishes in the championship rounds, and he's just more proven in the 5-round distance. So I definitely trust Brady as the fight goes along. We've also seen Morales taken down multiple times in his UFC career now. Has anybody been able to seriously control him and do damage from top or anything like that? No, not really. But we have still seen him taken down, so he's not immune to the takedown. Adam Fugit was able to get some good grappling control on him. Obviously, it didn't end well for him, but he was still able to do it. You know, Michael was a lot younger back then, but it did happen. Someone of Sean Brady's caliber, if he gets on top of you, you ain't getting back up to your feet. You know, this guy is an elite grappler, very good submissions, and he's not that bad on the feet either. You know, I feel like he's improving on the feet. I feel like he's getting better and better. I feel like he can compete in the boxing here for a while. It's just the power, the athleticism is going to be too much for him on the feet. But I don't think this is going to be a contest on the feet for longer than 1.5, 2 rounds. You know, if Sean Brady doesn't get iced, I see him taking over the fight and winning the fight. I also could see him getting some control in the early rounds as well. It's not a guarantee he's going to get iced. So I feel like he could have success early, and I am predicting him to have success late. Right? Whereas I feel like Morales could have success early, but I'm not predicting him to have success late. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Sean Brady in this fight. The level of competition for Sean Brady has been higher, has been better. He does have a loss on his record against Belal Muhammad, but it's not like Belal Muhammad was just defending the takedowns and just pieced him up on the feet. He did piece him up on the feet. He knocked him out on the feet. But I thought Sean Brady was doing pretty decent in the first half of that matchup, and it was a massive step up in competition at the time. And then he kind of gassed out, he tired out. If you remember, it was in Abu Dhabi. Some weird stuff happened on that card. People got gassed, etc., etc. It's very hot out there. So I give him a bit of a pass for that. I'm not saying that it didn't happen or anything like that, but I do let him off the hook a little bit. Big step up in competition, was in Abu Dhabi, was looking kind of decent, seemed to gas out, which he's not really used to doing, and just got a little bit overwhelmed on the feet. Shot for takedowns that were kind of half-hearted, didn't get them, you know. And Belal Muhammad's a great wrestler. Mohamed Morales is not a great wrestler, so he's not going to be able to defend the takedowns as much as Belal Muhammad was, in my opinion, at least late into the fight, right? So I'm going to pick Sean Brady in this one, guys, but it's a very close fight. I respect Morales a lot, so this is not a lock pick, but I do like Brady in this fight. I feel like the level on the ground is too much to ignore here. All right, boys, now we have come to lucrative Wheel of Fortune, where I give you, yes, you, a chance to win 1 month free in my Elite Zone. My Elite Zone is where I help people make a second income on MMA, just how I have made my full-time income on MMA. The link to sign up right now is in my bio. You can sign up. But if you want to be in with a chance to win 1 free month, all you need to do is leave a good comment down below, and I'm going to spin the Wheel of Fortune with your comment in it next week. And if it lands on you, you get 1 month free in my Elite Zone, where you will cash big. Like I said, if you don't want to wait an entire week to see if you won on the next show, you can just sign up now. But leave a good comment anyway, because even if you do sign up, I'll still give you 1 month for free. So we're going to spin the Wheel of Fortune now, boys. And look, we'll spin it now. And everybody up here left a good comment on last week's show. So let's see who won from last week's show, boys. It's slowing down now. And here we are. Congratulations, Chase Burley Smith. You have won yourself 1 month in the lucrative Elite Zone. Get ready to cash big tickets, brother. Look at the description down below to find out how to redeem your 1 month free in the Elite Zone. Like I said, if you didn't win this week, because it's very hard to win hundreds of comments, you can just hit the link in my bio and get instant access to our bets, our long shot parlays, our long shot props, our lucrative Elite Zone group chat, and also I tell you exactly how much to put on each bet. UFC 322 is going to be massive. We have gigantic bets on this card, not normal bets, gigantic bets. So sign up if you're ready to cash out big, and I'll see you in the group chat. Also, lads, this week, I have 2 free bets for you, and I'm going to post them out in my free Telegram group. The link is in the bio for that. These 2 free bets are boosted parlays, both with the prices increased by 15%. They're completely free, and they're live in my Telegram right now. I also drop weekly free bets, giveaways, and other content that doesn't make into this YouTube channel, so it's a good place to be anyway. So hit the link, join the Telegram, and get those bets. Now let's get into the next fight. In the next fight of the night, we have Erin Blanchfield taking on Tracy Cortez. Erin is coming into this fight. Blanchfield is coming into this fight with a record of 13 wins, 2 losses. Tracy Cortez, on the other hand, 12 wins, 2 losses. Again, a very, very similar record to her opponent. Just 1 digit difference. Currently, to have Erin Blanchfield as a -165 favorite with the underdog price tag on Tracy Cortez coming back at +145. This is a good fight, guys. You know, I know a lot of people moan at women's MMA, but this is a very high-level fight to good grapplers for the most part. You know, we got grappler versus grappler here, and I believe that's going to be the tail of the fight. And that's why I'm going out there and outright picking Erin Blanchfield, boys. I'm telling you the prediction early, and I'm going to tell you why. It's a grappler versus grappler, and there's only one grappler who's the best grappler in the grappler division here, right? Which is Erin Blanchfield. I believe that when Tracy Cortez starts to shoot takedowns or engage in the wrestling, which she does in every single fight, I think she's going to find herself wrestling and grappling up against a better MMA grappler. I do believe that Tracy has the wrestling advantage here, but it's not going to mean much if once you get on top from using your wrestling, you're going to be swept. If we see the first fight, boys, this is a rematch, by the way. If we go back and look at that first fight, Erin Blanchfield had Tracy Cortez in a very deep armbar in round 1. And why can that not happen again? I believe that can happen again. And maybe this time she uses it to sweep. You know, she's a much better grappler than she ever was back then. Maybe she uses it to sweep this time. And if she's on top, I'll tell you something now. She's one of the meanest bitches from top position that you've ever seen in women's MMA history. She goes to work, lands good ground and pound, and very good submission skills as well. You know, gets you in the crucifix, elbows, like she did to Molly McCann. She can do a lot of tricky moves down there, right? She can be losing the entire fight, latch onto one neck, latch onto a guillotine, and then you're tapping out like she did against JJ Aldridge. She doesn't even need the takedowns to win the fight or submit you, right? And I just feel like Tracy's going to engage in the wrestling here. She does it in every fight, boys, you know? If she doesn't engage in the wrestling, I feel like Erin's pressure could still get to her and take her down anyway, right? And if it doesn't, and if it's a striking fight on the feet, I think it's a very close fight. I think either girl can win that. I'd favor Tracy a bit, maybe. But honestly, I'd have to look more into tape on that one because I wasn't really looking at the striking too much because 90% of these girls' fights are not in the striking. You know, the one fight where Erin really stood on the feet was against Manon Farrow because she couldn't get the takedowns. But how am I going to compare Tracy Cortez to Manon Farrow, right? So I kind of feel like it's going to be a close fight on the feet. In the wrestling, I give Tracy an advantage. But if you're wrestling, you're going into Erin's world, which is the grappling. And in the grappling, I give her a massive advantage. Blanchfield is out there at MK Muay Thai with Fatima Kline, who's also on this card. We're going to speak about her very soon. And those two girls are some of the best girls in the entire world of women's MMA. So I feel like they're going to be giving each other hell on the mats. And that's a great training partner to have. I saw on Tracy's Instagram that she's training with Aileen Pereira. Shout out to my girl, Aileen Pereira, I meant to say. So that's an interesting training partner. You know, maybe she's going to learn a thing or two in the striking there, but I don't know if they were consistently training or if it was just one Instagram post that I saw. Aileen Pereira, if you didn't know, is the sister of Alex Pereira. So, you know, maybe Tracy's getting in some work on her left hook. But yeah, I just feel like no matter how much left hook she works on, she's going to probably default to the wrestling here. Whether she shoots takedowns or not, Erin's going to force grappling scenarios. And I just feel like Erin's going to come out on top there. And she could even get takedowns of her own, like I said. So I'm going to pick Erin in this fight. Do I think she's going to get a finish? That's a tough one, boys. I'm going to think about it more. I'm going to send that prediction specifically out to my elite zone because I haven't made a decision yet. I don't really know. I'm going to watch more tape. I'm going to speak about it with some of the people I respect in MMA. And I'm going to think about it on a little bit more. But at the moment, I'm picking Erin Blanchfield to get the win. In the next fight of the night, we have Baisangur Susurkaev versus Eric McConico. Susurkaev coming into this fight with a record of 10 wins, 0 losses. Eric McConico coming into this fight, 10 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. Very interesting fight, boys. I was lucky enough to see Susurkaev in his last fight live when he almost got finished in round 1. On a very short notice matchup after he won on Dana White's Contender Series on the Tuesday and then fought on the Saturday. If you don't know, that's who Susurkaev is. You know, he broke the UFC record for the quickest turnaround ever, at least under the UFC banner. You know, it wasn't an official UFC fight, but he made his debut under the banner on a Tuesday, and then 4 days later he was fighting. Now, I was watching that in the stands, and man, it was a trip because he was like -1,000. Everyone was expecting him to win in round 1, and he went through hell to get that win in round 2 via submission, but he got hurt badly. At the end of that round, he got badly wobbled, boys, and I watched that again the other day, and he was hurt in that fight. You know, he laughed, he smiled, but there was nothing to smile about at the time because he got wobbled badly, right? If there was a minute left on that fight, 30 seconds left, he might have got wobbled again, you know, because he was not all there. I feel like someone may take Susurkaev out at some point, you know. He's got a lot of hype on him. I'm not 100% sure that it is warranted. I feel like someone's going to crack him hard someday. I mean, it did happen in his last fight, but I feel like it may lead to him losing. He's kind of there to be hit. He doesn't have the best striking defense. The issue in this fight is that McConico does not fight in the style that you need to fight to beat Baisangur Susurkaev. You know, McConico fights along the back foot like he did against Cody Brundage, like he did against Nursultan Ruzabayev in his first fight in the UFC. He fights on the back foot. He fights a little bit scared, it looks like. He fights worried about his durability. He likes to throw the rear high kick, the rear hand, the rear straight, and he just likes to keep distance from his opponents, crack them with big shots from his rear weapons. He doesn't like to get in your face, bite down on a mouthpiece and throw hammers, which you kind of need to be able to do against Susurkaev. So I just feel like this is a great matchup for Baisangur Susurkaev. I feel like he's going to land a knockout in this fight. You know, he landed a submission in his last fight, and I think this is the return of the KO for him. McConico has bad durability. You know, we can watch his fight against Cody Brundage where he gets rocked a couple of times there. You know, you may not have seen it clearly, but I saw it clearly. You know, he got rocked even when times he didn't look that rocked. He was rocked, in my opinion, if you look a little bit closer. If you look at his fight against Ruzabayev, he was hurt badly there. You know, even on the regional scene, the guy gets hurt a lot. So Susurkaev is very active on social media. He calls himself Dana White's favorite fighter. He has a lot of posts on social media saying that he's going to send fighters into retirement. So he thinks highly of himself. You know, he's extremely confident. A little bit cocky, you may say, sometimes maybe too cocky because it seems to get him hurt, or it seemed to have got him hurt in his last fight. He was extremely cocky in that fight and he almost paid the ultimate price for it. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, you know, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know, I get the feeling that it's going to bite him in the ass someday, whereas some fighters like Conor McGregor, they can kind of that's just their personality and it doesn't bite him in the ass like he's going to fight the way he's going to fight regardless. I kind of feel like it's going to bite this guy in the ass, but at the end of the day, we don't know. But that's just my prediction. We'll see in a year or two if I'm correct on that one. But yeah, the guy's talking a lot of smack, talking about he's going to send McConico and people like that into retirement. I don't know if he'll do that. I do think he's going to get the win in this fight though, boys. I'm going to have to pick Susurkaev via KO in this fight. In the next fight of the night, we have Angela Hill taking on Fatima Kline, a great prospect in the strawweight division. Angela Hill has a crazy record of 18 wins and 15 losses. Fatima Kline, on the other hand, a bit more of a pretty record, 8 wins with only 1 loss. Currently, they have Fatima Kline a minus 410 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Angela Hill coming back at plus 310. Something I want to mention about Fatima Kline in this fight is that she finally quit her full-time job and is now training as a full-time job. So I believe that the prospect that we think Fatima Kline is only going to improve and probably improve rapidly. You know, she had a full-time job before this and now she's full-time MMA. We see Erin Blanchfield in a cross interview saying that Fatima doesn't have to work anymore. This is going to be massive. Being a UFC fighter, you need to be full in on this game, you know, and she has so much raw talent and skill. I cannot wait to see the fighter that Fatima Kline develops into. I believe that she is going to clearly win this fight against Angela Hill. I think she's a great prospect, and I don't think someone like Angela Hill on the tail end of her career can stop her. You know, Angela's a good striker. She's got decent wrestling. She ain't got great ground game, to be honest. Crazy that she submitted Luana Pinheiro, but that tells you more about Pinheiro than it does about Hill, in my opinion. Angela's still putting up good fights, you know. Look at the Ketlin Souza fight. Ketlin's not a bad fighter at all, you know, and she put up a great fight there. Even in the Lucindo fight, she didn't just lay down. She's throwing up submissions at times. She's going for her own takedown. She's trying to escape, but she just seems a little bit weathered, a little bit past it. And Kline has great striking, great boxing, good high kicks as we've seen now. And if she gets on top, I think she's going to dominate because Angela Hill has always struggled from bottom position. Just go back and look at her last fight and go back and look at some of her literally first fights in the UFC. It's still a hole that she has. So I'm taking Fatima Kline in this one, boys. pretty confident as well. In the next fight on the card, we have Gerald Meerschaert taking on Daukaus. Gerald Meerschaert coming into this fight with a record of 37 wins and 20 losses. Daukaus, on the other hand, 16 wins and 4 losses. Currently, we have Daukaus as the minus 325 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Gerald Meerschaert coming back at plus 275. Yeah, to be honest, guys, I kind of feel like Gerald Meerschaert is washed. You know, I just feel like he's not the fighter that he once was. I guess he's still a veteran and he could still land a submission in round 3 or round 2 as he has always been able to do. But when I'm watching his fights recently, I think he's off, man. I think the Brad Tavares fight was a bad look. Brad Tavares has washed himself and he got cleaned out for the first couple of rounds. You know, he came on well in round 3. He can still do that. Round 3 is always a good round for Gerald, but I just don't think he's there anymore, boys. I really don't. And on the other hand, we got Daukaus, who has now had a resurgence in his career, came back and knocked out Michel Pereira. I mean, Gerald Meerschaert ain't knocking out Michel Pereira in round 1. I can tell you that right now. I don't think Daukaus is the best fighter of all time. In fact, his run to get back in the UFC wasn't that impressive. You know, I've seen him on the regional scene get hurt, get cracked. I don't think he looked that great. But he still came in and put on a show against Michel Pereira in round 1. Gerald Meerschaert never had good takedown defense because he doesn't mind playing from his back. And I think Daukaus has very good grappling. So if he takes him down, I don't think he's getting submitted off his back. You know, I think he can actually do damage to Gerald from top position, maybe even submit him himself. And on the feet, I favor Daukaus as well. I feel like this is a Daukaus spot. I don't rate Daukaus that much, but at this point in their career, I just feel like it's Daukaus all day. I really believe that the UFC bringing back Daukaus means something. You know, when the UFC brings you back, it's usually a good decision for them. They know what they're doing. Joseph Morales got brought back, and I think he's a good fighter and he deserves to be in the UFC, right? Who else got brought back? Yusuf Salau got brought back, and he's looked amazing since he's been brought back. Modestas Bukauskas got brought back, and he's looked good, you know, since he got brought back. And on top of that, Daukaus got brought back, and round 1 KO against Michel Pereira as a plus 200 underdog in his first fight. So I think there's a reason the UFC has brung Daukaus back, and I think he proves it again here. I think he goes out there and I think he finishes Gerald Meerschaert probably. Could be a decision, but I mean, Gerald's still tough, you know. I'm not super confident on that, but I think Daukaus is going to win this one, boys. In the next fight on the card, we have Bo Nickal taking on Rodolfo Vieira. Bo Nickal currently sitting as the minus 220 favorite with the underdog price tag on Rodolfo Vieira coming back at plus 185. Well, oh well, we have the return of Bo Nickal. You know, Bo Nickal was the definition of fraud checked in his last fight. You know, I don't like to use that word because at the end of the day, he's still a good fighter. Fraud checked is overused, but if you was going to say anyone was fraud checked in the last 12 months, you would definitely choose Bo Nickal, right? He was going into that fight with massive hype, and I honestly thought he's going to smash Dariush because in my head, I was like, well, Dariush's not going to be able to take him down. And he wasn't really. You know, Bo engaged in the grappling and got himself taken down there because he jumped on a submission. And I just felt like on the feet, Bo was going to beat him up because Dariush is terrible on the feet. And I thought Bo had way better gas tank. But that didn't happen. You know, Dariush walked him down, smashed him on the feet. You know, Dariush was destroying him on the feet, knocked him out to the body on the feet, right? So yeah, I think we learned a lot about Bo Nickal in his last fight to some degree. I do think he can improve from then, but I can't trust him at minus 240 against Vieira because who knows? Who knows where he's at, man? Who knows where he's at? It's a tough one for me, boys, because I just feel like the jury is still out on Bo Nickal, you know? I feel like Bo's going to win this fight. Like, I do think he's the better striker, but I thought he was the better fighter. I thought he was the better striker against Dariush, right? But I do think he's the better striker here. And I think that his wrestling, well, I know his wrestling's way better, so he should be able to keep the fight on the feet and then win on the feet. But it's exactly what I said about Dariush, you know, so maybe I need to look a little bit deeper into it. I mean, I got to pick Bo Nickal in this one, you know. I can't let the last fight dissuade me from what I think of Bo Nickal too much. Can I say that Bo Nickal maybe not as tough as I thought? Yes, at the end of the day, man, Dariush is a good fighter. You can lose a fight. It's not a big deal. I just didn't like what I saw in terms of looked like he maybe quit a little bit in there and it looked like he didn't want to be in there. And yeah, he wasn't as good on the feet or as keeping range as I thought he would be. But this is a different fight here. You know, Dariush is way bigger than Rodolfo Vieira. And in this fight, I do see Bo Nickal defending the takedowns, maybe even getting a takedown of his own. It might be dumb because he might find himself in a guillotine, but I do think he's going to be able to defend it. He's been training jiu-jitsu for a long time now. And yes, if Vieira takes him down and takes his back, he'd probably kill him. But guillotine-wise, I don't really think, you know, Vieira has the best guillotine of all time. He hasn't really shown it in his MMA career at all, to be honest. So I kind of feel like Bo could stay safe on a takedown there, use his athleticism to pile Rodolfo Vieira to the ground and then just stay safe. And then on top position, I don't think he's going to get swept or anything like that. Maybe if he's in half guard, maybe if he's in full guard, if he's in side control, he probably should be all right. And on the feet, I do favor Bo Nickal. I feel like the jab's going to be landing for Bo Nickal. I think the overhands, I think he's a better boxer. I think he's a better fighter. I think he's got more power on the feet, personally. So I'm going to pick Bo Nickal here. I'm going to pick Bo Nickal via decision. You know, that might be some good odds because Bo Nickal barely goes to decision, but we might get some good odds on the over 2.5 rounds or the GTD that goes to decision or Bo Nickal via decision. But yeah, that is my prediction for this one, boys. Bo bounces back. He has a good performance. And he continues his rise in the UFC. In the next fight on the card, we have Roman Kopylov taking on Gregory Rodrigues. Roman Kopylov coming into this fight with a record of 14 wins, 4 losses. Gregory Rodrigues, on the other hand, 17 wins and 6 losses. Currently, they have G-Rod, Gregory Rodrigues, a -180 favorite with the underdog price tag on Roman Kopylov coming back at +155. This is a great fight. Striker's delight. Gregory Rodrigues can do it all, you know, very good submission skills, very good wrestling, but he likes to go out there and throw hands. And if he does that against Kopylov, it might get him into trouble, man, because Kopylov can throw them hands as well. Kopylov has extremely fast boxing. He will throw in combination with 5-6 punches, which fighters rarely do. I don't think it's the best combinations. It's kind of just like 5 straight hands, but it is extremely fast. You know, he throws a little hook in there and he's got very good kicks himself. You know, good kicks to the body, good kicks to the head, good leg kicks. This is a very interesting fight for me, boys. You know, on the one hand, I feel like Gregory Rodrigues can really, really hurt Roman Kopylov on the feet with his boxing, because he can hurt anybody. And on the same hand, I feel like Gregory can take Roman down and dominate him. And I do feel like those two things are true. But something I think is just as possible is Roman Kopylov knocking out Gregory Rodrigues here. Like I said, man, the speed in which he throws his punches is elite. The head kicks he has are elite. Go back and watch that Chris Curtis fight. The kicks he was throwing all fight were very, very on point. And then he lands a beautiful head kick in the final dying seconds. I mean, if that hits Gregory Rodrigues, I have no doubt that he gets put out. Gregory still has a bad chin. Let's not forget about it. And poor cardio. Let's not forget about him gassing out badly against Jared Cannonier. Let's not forget about him getting knocked out by Jordan Williams. Let's not forget about Jun Young Park having him wobbled all over the place. Kopylov can definitely knock him out here. Is he going to do it? I think the most likely scenario is no. But I definitely think it's possible. And he's a decently sized underdog. I think Kopylov is a little bit underrated after that performance against Costa. It wasn't a blowout performance. Costa was winning, but Costa's, at the end of the day, Costa is a very high-level fighter and has been fighting the best fighters in the division for the last 5 years. Gregory Rodrigues took one step up in competition and got finished in the late rounds. He looked very good early, but Jared is semi-washed himself. And outside of that, Gregory Rodrigues is not beating anyone better than Kopylov, you know. CLD is Kopylov's level. Denis Talulin, way worse than Kopylov. Jun Young Park, lower than Kopylov. He killed Jack Hermansson, but I predicted that. I predicted Gregory Rodrigues via KO in that fight. It wasn't a surprise to me. I just think this is a close striking fight, boys. If Gregory goes to his grappling, I think he could look dominant, but I do think Kopylov's first level of takedown defense is pretty good and probably good enough to stop the takedowns at least early. And if he stops the takedowns early, then he's going to be in with a chance to knock out Gregory Rodrigues. And I'm actually going to go with that as my official prediction. Might be a little bit against the grain. I feel like Gregory will be a popular pick this week because he has the grappling upside, then he can match him on the feet and he has more power, probably with the hands, definitely. So, you know, I feel like he'll be a popular pick, but I'm going to go against the grain here. Roman Kopylov wins this fight. Brutal knockout. Reminder, boys, if you haven't already joined my free Telegram group, then go and do it now by hitting the link in my bio. The boosted parlays and giveaways are all posted there. In the next fight on the card, we have Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Cody Haddon. Malcolm Wellmaker coming into this fight with a record of 10 wins, 0 losses. Cody Haddon, on the other hand, 8 wins and only 1 lone loss. Unfortunately, the odds are not out for these guys yet, but I'm almost certain it's going to be a pick'em or close to a pick'em, -130 for one fighter, something like that. These odds are going to be very close, boys, and no wonder why. This is a fantastic fight. I absolutely cannot wait for it. So, boys, this fight was only announced 2 weeks ago. So Haddon has took this fight on about 4 weeks' notice. I don't like that. I'd like to see both of these guys have a full camp, training for each other, because obviously it'll bring the best out of each other, but it is what it is. We are here. 2 fighters who are elite prospects in the division, man. I think both fighters will go extremely far. Both fighters have already fought very well in the UFC. They have shown their skill sets. I feel like Cody has shown me a little bit more in decisions. You know, Cody has shown me better cardio. Cody has shown me better volume and output. Cody has shown me a better all-round game and a better 15-minute game, a well-put-together game. What Wellmaker has shown me is deft touch, right? Insane deft touch with that right hook, man. Let's have a look at this right hook right now. I mean, damn, that was a crazy knockout. Look at this one as well. This one, wait for it. Bang! That one is really, really bad as well. You know, I mean, all of these knockouts, like there's another knockout of his right hook here as well. Like, I can't believe this guy got 3 right hook knockouts in a row. It's kind of crazy, you know? And he's got power in that left hand as well. Don't get it twisted. Like, this guy's just got elite power in the boxing. The issue is he's coming up against a very, very high level boxer, a boxing champion in his own country. And I feel like Cody Haddon's probably the better boxer here. Doesn't mean he's the more effective boxer, no. But I feel like he's the better boxer technically, you know? This is a great fight, boys. A very, very tough fight for me to call. I'm going to go with Cody Haddon here. And the reason I'm going to go with Cody Haddon is because he's shown me more in his MMA arsenal and in his MMA career. He's fought the higher level of competition as well. Cody's lone loss has come against Steve Erceg in a fight that he fought tooth and nail in. He could have easily won that fight. Steve Erceg had to come on, push heavily late, and he also fought Dan Argueta, you know, who's a good fighter. I think his level of competition has been better than Wellmaker, who outside of Cameron Simon doesn't have anyone great on his record, and we don't actually know how good Cameron Simon is. So yeah, I'm going to pick Cody Haddon in this one. But look, at the end of the day, guys, Malcolm Wellmaker could just be the truth. We don't really know. And if he is, he probably knocks out Cody Haddon. But I got Cody here, man. And I might even bet on him if the odds are good enough. You know, I feel like there's a lot of hype on Wellmaker at the moment. And look, fair play to him. You know, he deserves hype. He's looked great. He's cashed me a lot of money. I'll tell you that. He's cashed me a lot of money in the UFC, but all good things come to an end, and I like to fade hype a lot of the time. So we'll wait for the odds to be released, boys. I kind of feel like Wellmaker's going to be a favorite, if not pick him. And yeah, I kind of feel like he will open as a favorite. You know, maybe money will come in on Haddon. But anyway, boys, we'll see it. Maybe I make a play on Haddon. I'm going to pick him at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wellmaker continues his knockout streak or, you know, shows a little bit more than he has done in his UFC run. But how can I pick him when Cody's shown very good boxing, very good submissions, very good grappling, and great cardio? And Wellmaker hasn't shown any of that. To be honest, he hasn't shown that. He's shown crazy power, a deft touch, good eyes in the pocket, reaction time, like all of that stuff. But there's a lot he still hasn't shown, you know? And in his fights that did go long, I didn't like the way he looked in those fights. He went very low output. You know, his output dropped considerably, and Haddon's output arguably gets more as the fight goes on. So that's it, boys. I'll stop breaking down the fight now, guys, but I am going to go with Cody Haddon in this one. In the next fight on the card, we have Chepe Mariscal taking on Pat Sabatini. This is a great fight, boys, and it's the first fight on the card, which is kind of crazy to have such a high-level fight being the first fight on the card. We have Chepe Mariscal coming into this fight with a record of 18 wins, 6 losses. Pat Sabatini, on the other hand, 20 wins and 5 losses. Currently, they have Chepe Mariscal as the slight -113 favorite with the underdog price tag on. Pat Sabatini coming back at -107. So, boys, very good fight. Both fighters are extremely tough, or I shouldn't say tough. Both fighters are high level. You know, both fighters are very high level for the division. You know, they're top 25 in their respective weight classes, which is extremely high level. Pat Sabatini had a breakout performance in his last fight, in my opinion, against Joanderson Brito, a fight where we bet on him as a +200 underdog, one of the best bets of the entire year. Me and the Elite Zone cashed out big on that one. And as always, in any Pat Sabatini fight, it literally comes down to whether Pat's going to be able to get the takedowns or not. If he can take you down, he's going to win because he's an absolute menace with the takedowns. If he can't take you down, he's going to lose because his chin isn't good and his striking isn't good, you know? I feel he's going to be able to get the takedowns in this fight. I've seen Chepe taken down multiple times. He's had a long storied career. You know, even on the regional scene, he was fighting killers like Steve Garcia. But I have seen Chepe taken down multiple times, controlled on the ground as well. So I kind of feel like he's not easy to control on the ground, but I have seen it happen, and I've seen him taken down a lot. And I feel like if Pat takes him down, he's probably going to be able to control him. So I'm going to go with Pat for that reason. You know, it's going to be a quick breakdown, boys. At the end of the day, Pat Sabatini has been knocked out now by Damon Jackson, by Diego Lopez early in round 1. So I can't trust his durability. He can probably get knocked out at any point, but he's the type of fighter where if his game gets snowballing, he just looks so good. And Chepe's the type of fighter where he's almost lost some of these fights. In my opinion, he lost the Morgan Charrier fight. You know, the fight was good for him, but I don't think it should have been. And in some of these other fights, I don't think he's looking that good, but he's still getting the win. Like the Jack Jenkins fight, I don't think he's looking good in that fight. And then Jack gets injured and he wins the fight. I just feel like Chepe, I don't want to say Chepe's been lucky, you know, but he has been a little bit beneficial of some good variants. And also, he's won these fights because he's got great durability, great cardio, good heart, and he pushes the pace, and he just has an extreme will to win. But skill for skill, I don't think he's the best skilled fighter. I think he's willing to go in a brawl, and he wants it so badly. But coming up against an elite, high-level black belt like Pat Sabatini, I think he's probably going to find himself in no man's land here, in a position where he's trying to get up, but he just can't. This is actually a rematch. Pat Sabatini and Chepe already fought. They fought back in 2018, but both of those guys were extremely different fighters. I mean, you're talking 7 years ago, over 7 years ago now. So I don't think that fight's going to go the same as this fight at all. Now, that fight ended in a split decision win for Chepe. Basically, Pat was able to get the takedowns, but he wasn't able to control Chepe. You know, he put him in some deep submission attempts, but Chepe was able to scramble out. The issue is, I still think that Pat's going to be able to get the takedowns like that first fight, but I don't think it's going to be the same fight, because I think that Pat has got so much better as a grappler and so much better with his top control that I don't think Chepe is going to be able to scramble out like he did in the first fight. And I think that's going to be the difference here. So I think Pat's going to be able to take him down like he did, but this time I think he's going to be able to control him. He may even submit him. You know, I don't think he will, but he definitely could. So I'm picking Patrick Sabatini to get his revenge and win this fight as the underdog. So that's the end of the show, and it's me signing off, boys. Let's try and cash on another pay-per-view. There's only 2 pay-per-views left before the end of the year, so I'm going to do my best to help put money in your pocket on these pay-per-views, as I've been trying to do every week this year. And we've been doing it this year, boys. The insane amount of money I've made this year has been crazy, and I'm going to try and keep on doing it. So thanks for watching. Take a look at this lovely English sunset before I leave you, and let's have a big pay-per-view together.